Well, this device right here is one that we've used to contact the people in the flying saucers. It receives the messages on a beam of light, and it is in turn translated by this unit and brought out as intelligible voice speech.
You mean to say you've actually received messages from
That's
people
right.
in flying saucers?
That's right.
American scientists are trying to make music, quavers and semi-quavers, to connect with the extraterrestrial intelligence that's landing in a sacred area, that being in Wyoming. But essentially, that sacred area was in this area with the late George Van Tassel, whom I personally knew. Who was George Van Tassel? He was an engineer at Hughes Aircraft, and Howard Hughes, the most famous American aviator scientist in the 40s, secured an old airport not too far away from here. St. George took charge of this in the 1950s. In the mid-1950s, during his sleep, he was awakened by a strange phenomena of an extraterrestrial teacher who was speaking to him telepathically. He went outside.
Yeah, it was right outside his place he was sleeping, which was Giant Rock. He actually slept under Giant Rock, and just outside, for some reason he woke up. There was a vehicle there, and this entity called Tolganga. He doesn't know what happened to him after that, but after that he's always been in touch. That's part of what we're talking about in Alan's book, the consciousness linkage.
So George allowed me to teach under Giant Rock. I'm one of the few allowed to teach from the Dead Sea Scrolls and from the Greek Nag Hammadi text called The Gospel of Truth. And when I was teaching this, the door opened at the top of the staircase that went down into the room underneath Giant Rock, and a blue being appeared. And we all knew that this was a sacred place of visitation, used originally by the indigenous people here, really centuries before the arrival of Hughes Aircraft people and naval intelligence. But they had a scout tower in the back, watching everything that George Van Tassel was doing in the creation of the Integratron, which was to create a biogeneration field out of harmonics, to heal the body, to prepare the body for contact with the higher worlds. And so, in coming out here with George Van Tassel and having a spherical light following me around the desert, I can assure you that this church is at the right location.
And we're really here, of course, to promote Alan's new book, which we've written a chapter in it.
And we're all here to promote there's a new consciousness coming to the planet. And this temple is part of that awakening of the deeper essence of the human being. And that's what these beings are coming here for. That's why they're making contact, as I say, because we are ready to wake up to this other reality. We've done enough practices, and I want to say yoga, there's always more yoga you can do, but we've done enough of that, and it's ready that our consciousness opens up and meets the other on a new plane, a new story. We're tired of wars and famines and atrocities and all the awful things, and I think a new reality is possible.
Thank you, Alan, and thank you for inviting us to write chapter 3 of your book.
Yeah, the book is a collection of many different writings. It's not just my writing. The Hertogs have a writing. Do you know the UFO phenomenon? Linda Moulton Howe, have you heard of her? Whitley Strieber, he's written a chapter in here. John Mack, you know, John Mack was a professor of psychiatry at Harvard and started to talk to people having experiences, and Harvard wanted to get rid of him because it said, you can't talk about people meeting little aliens. We got to get rid of you. But it was freedom of speech. You could say whatever you want. So we're also at the verge of a new time. In 1950, Harry Truman, president at the time, said, given the fact that they exist, they are not constructed by any power on Earth. That was in 1950. And now, what is this now, 60, 70?
70 years later.
70 years later, they're finally coming out with the truth. So we are at the threshold of a new time, And that's why I thought this book would be a way to prepare people.
There is a term used often on the closing of the messages, which they tell us is a portion of a universal tongue that is spoken by space people.
And what's that particular word?
Adonai Vasu Barakis.
And what does it mean?
Literally translated, as they've told us, it means farewell, good brothers.